Welcome back to the Debrief, your go-to spot to catch up on everything that you need to know. And I'm your host, Sarel, and I'm going to be here to help you break down the latest in current affairs, pop culture, politics, and everything in between. Whether you're looking to stay informed or you just need like a little quick rundown of what's been going on, I've got you covered. So I'm not going to lie to you, it's a crazy time to be alive at the moment, okay? We currently have the craziest moment in politics happening. We spoke on the Debrief about Kamala Harris and Donald Trump and everything to do with the presidential debate and the election. Well, it got me thinking, I wonder how many more politicians are out there who have questionable leadership methods, who have a scandalous past, who are salacious in everything that they do. And I wonder how that went down for them. So we're going to be looking at none other than the Mayor of Toronto, Rob Ford. Now, he's not the current mayor, he's a previous mayor, but we'll get into the whole nitty gritty in a sec. It's kind of a wild ride, but he's also widely referred to as the Trump of Canada. Now, Ford's legacy is highly polarizing, as in like some people love him and some people love to hate him. Now, while some admire his boldness and focus on his fiscal responsibilities, others find his controversial behavior deeply, deeply troubling. So a quick overview for those of you who might not have heard about him. Okay, Rob Ford served 3 terms as a city councillor from 2000 until October 2010. He was then elected as the Mayor of Toronto from 2010 to 2014. His political career also saw a number of personal and work-related controversies and legal proceedings, from verbal and physical abuse, and most notably, a substance misuse case when there is a video of him smoking crack cocaine from a crack pipe. Yeah, okay, great. Just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page for that. Now, sadly, Rob Ford has passed away. He passed away in 2016 after battling an aggressive abdominal tumour for over 2 years. And Ford's death is kind of complicated because at the time, he is a young man, he's a family man, and he was seen as a handshaking, back-patting politician, and that he was like hiding a dark side. But at the same time, lots of people in Canada really loved him. They thought he was real and he was a man of the people, regardless of his scandals. So it's a difficult one, but I really wanted to explore it and I wanted to have a look because he is seen as relatable, and it's sad that I guess his legacy has gone down with the crack cocaine and the alcohol, etc., etc. So let's look at the political scandals within Rob's life, okay? He's been known to take some stances on things that, I would say probably aren't the best stances, but let's run through them. He argued against funding AIDS prevention initiatives, falsely claiming that it's only an issue for homosexuals and people who used needles. I don't even know, there's literally no proof of that.
Thank you. Today's World AIDS Day, and it's a sad day to welcome a mayor, our new mayor, who hates people living with HIV.
He's quoted to say, if you're not doing needles and you're not gay, you won't get AIDS probably. I don't know why we're spending 1.5 million on this. Strong stance to take there, Rob. I'm going to go ahead and say probably not the best, but okay, cool. He also had a very strong stance to take in response to suicides, and he basically opposed installing a safety barrier, arguing that the funds would be better spent rounding up paedophiles. I don't know what that means. In March 2008, he made some racial remarks towards the Asian communities in Toronto. I quote, "The Oriental people are slowly taking over. They are hard workers, those Oriental people. They work like dogs. That's why they're successful in life." And his apology went a little something like this after people obviously were like, hey, you can't say that. He said, "At no time did I ever offend the Asian community by giving them a compliment. What I might have done is refer to them as Oriental. And that, I did not know, was a racist comment." Again, Rob Ford here just, really hitting us with some pretty weird and wild stuff. So in terms of his politics and his views, he's questionable. But I want to have a look at his alcohol abuse and the scandals around that, because that one it's beefy, okay? So the man obviously has had some hardcore views, but I guess everyone is entitled to their own opinion. However, if the political standpoint weren't enough, the question is, is this man suitable to govern as mayor, right? You'd think that the following scandals might suggest he wasn't the best man for the job. At least you'd hope so, I guess. One thing to note here before we dive deep into these reports is that Rob Ford denied every single allegation made against him until it was literally proven guilty, okay? So only when proof emerged of these scandals did Ford ever take any form of accountability. No proof, no apology. Anyways, so let's look at the first, his Florida arrest in 1999. In 1999, Ford was arrested for drink driving in Florida and being in possession of cannabis. When this was brought up in a press conference in 2010, Ford denied everything. I quote, "I'm dead serious when I say no. I mean never, no question. Now I'm getting offended. No means no." He later blamed his faulty memory and said he wasn't drunk, but was arrested because he refused a breathalyzer. At first, he told the media he'd only had a glass or two of wine, you know, a little cheeky glass or two. And then later he said, okay, maybe I shared a couple bottles of wine with his wife. Maybe I shouldn't have been driving, he concluded in a press conference. In 2006, the denial continued, okay? So at a hockey game, a drunken Rob was removed from the hockey game in Toronto after calling a fan a right-wing communist bastard and asking his wife, "Do you want your little wife to go over to Iran and get R-worded and shot?" What? When the couple complained, Ford denied the allegations and at first denied ever being at the game. He then later apologized. This seems like a theme for him. Even after those two isolated events, Ford's reputation as a man of the people persisted. And I mean, people in Canada love him, okay, or loved him. He was seen as a national treasure, someone who told the truth, and he was just a guy who wanted to have a good time, and perhaps he got a little carried away. So even after these two completely isolated incidences, you might be able to get past all of that, the alcohol abuse, the hockey game, fine. However, we haven't even got to the creme de la creme of the story, as in like the meat of it, the thing that will have you itching your forehead in a second, okay? And that is none other than the crack cocaine story, okay? Now, there's a lot of information, so just walk with me, hold my hand as I say all of this, and then we'll get there, okay? So let's start from the top. So in 2013, a story broke which would shake the city of Toronto to its core and would sadly become what Rob Ford was most renowned for. Now, it's pretty clear that from everything up until this point that Rob Ford has a substance abuse problem. And it's really unsurprising given his upbringing, despite the fact that he grew up in a well-to-do suburb and in a family of politicians, with his father, Doug Sr., being a long-standing political figure, and his brother, Doug Jr., still serving as the Premier for Ontario to this day. Their upbringing was riddled with stories of dealing and drug abuse, okay? So we've got Rob's brother, Doug Jr., who was allegedly a dealer in their local neighborhood growing up. We've got their other brother, Randy, who was also involved in the drug trade and was once charged in relation to a drug-related kidnapping. What the fuck? And then you've got their sister, Kathy, who was also a victim of drug-related gun violence and is a recovering heroin addict. So it's like no surprise that Ford's struggle with substance abuse is a part of his story. And perhaps this is a way we can at least empathize with him, because, you know, it can't be easy if you're constantly surrounded by drugs to try and leave it at an adult age. However, it is one thing to struggle with drugs. It is quite another thing to promise the city that he is going to crack down on the city's drug and gang problem whilst actually playing a part in it. So, the crack cocaine case in the summer of 2012. The people of Toronto were kind of, I want to say, scared following multiple instances of drug-related crimes and murders, including a shooter opening fire in downtown Toronto, right? Rob Ford was confidently telling everyone that he could and he would be the man to clean up this mess. The police were already in an undercover investigation in one of the neighborhoods related to the violence, the town of Dixon.
The people who live in the community either don't know or they want to be in denial.
Now, Dixon has a long relationship with guns and gangs. Police were listening to phone calls and tapping into conversations as part of their investigation. Now, what they eventually discover would shock them. But first, let's talk about the infamous video, because in early 2013, there's a guy called Mohammed Farah, a community worker in Dixon at the time. And he said that he was approached by someone in the neighborhood who said that they had footage of the mayor doing crack cocaine. The video showed Rob Ford leaning back with his shirt unbuttoned, smoking a crack pipe. Okay, he was lighting it from underneath and he was going ham on that cheeky little crack pipe. Okay, now on May 16th, 2013, the story breaks out in the Toronto Star and a US website. Nobody had proof that the video existed. They ran the story. However, what they did share was an image of Ford surrounded by 3 young boys from Dixon with their arms around each other, and apparently they were gang members according to the police. Now, Rob Ford kept his silence for about a week. Now, 8 days later, Ford denies all of the allegations, as he usually does. He loves a good denial, right? And in his response, his initial response, he says,
"There has been a serious accusation from the Toronto Star that I use crack cocaine. I do not use crack cocaine, nor am I an addict of crack cocaine. As for a video, I cannot comment on a video that I have never seen or does not exist."
Now, this is very Rob Ford of him, okay? Now, the plot thickens because during this time, the police were also following a well-renowned drug trafficker who goes by the name Sandro Lissi, okay? They tailed his black Range Rover for over 3 months, and what they found was shocking.
Because inside the Range Rover was a man with a history of violence and drugs. Sandro Lissi, who the surveillance would soon reveal had a remarkably close relationship with Toronto's mayor.
They observed Lissi and Rob Ford meet more than 20 times. They engaged in conversations. They exchanged suspicious packages. And police eventually arrested Lissi. But the mayor was untouched. Why? Because there wasn't sufficient evidence to warrant a search. Or maybe because he was a white man in a position of power. You be the judge. I don't know. What do I know? Now, Lissi was arrested on the 31st of October for extortion, allegedly in a bid to secure the infamous video, okay? The police also had evidence of multiple phone calls between the mayor and Lissi. But on the 31st of October in 2013, the police finally obtained the video and the proof sent shockwaves through Toronto. Ford finally came clean-ish, stating to the press,
"Do you smoke crack cocaine?"
Yes, I have smoked crack cocaine. Am I an addict? No.
For half a year, he insisted there was no video. And still to this day, he never revealed what his relationship was with those 3 men in the photo in Dixon. And yet, despite all of this, Ford's approval rating briefly surged, as some constituents seemed to view his honesty as a sign of relatability and resilience. Now, listen, I don't know what's happening in Toronto. I don't know what's happening in Canada. I ain't here to judge your politics. I ain't here to judge who you want to vote for, which mayor you like, which mayor you don't like. But personally, when I'm looking for a mayor, I would like crack cocaine not to be in the mix. Is that crazy? I don't know. Now, I want to know, what does this say about our voting culture? I feel like we've started leaning towards personalities as opposed to policies, which I just don't know. I feel like back in the day, when it came to politics, when it came to our politicians, they were held to like a standard. Like you just couldn't be out here, you know, doing craziness. Now, over the following year after all of that had happened, more videos of Ford's drunken misdemeanors were revealed, including the infamous Jamaican rant.
For a minute, my eyes leave me alone, man. They got 5 months on it.
Just months after he had publicly vowed to quit drinking following a previous scandal. Now, like I said, with Rob Ford, it goes up and it goes down, but he's loved by the people of Toronto. Now, he withdrew from the mayoral race later that year after his cancer diagnosis. Ford opted for a city council seat instead, which he still won. Ford's ability to win, even after multiple scandals, can be largely attributed to his loyal supporter base known as the Ford Nation. Okay, many of his constituents still saw him as a champion of the average person, and he was anti-establishment, etc., etc. There's actually a very funny video of him running through, I don't know what the room is called, but there's a bunch of politicians in it, and he's just wreaking havoc. He's a funny person, and he was made to be a meme, and people from Toronto, particularly those in working class and suburban communities who felt overlooked by City Hall, loved him. They respected him. They liked him. So, in conclusion, was Rob Ford the genuine man of the people that Ford Nation idolized? Or was he more of a troubling figure, a habitual liar with a mean streak, a racist temperament, and a troubled personal life marked by challenges as a husband and father? The straightforward answer is we don't know. He was all of these things. So why were so many Canadians forgiving of his actions? Are they just an understanding nation? Or does this case speak to more of the power of meme culture and being a man of the people and someone who makes mistakes and is relatable? You decide. I don't know. He appeared to blur the line between what it means to be famous and to be infamous. I mean, he is known pretty much around the world. But you let me know. Which one is it? And also, do you have politicians in wherever you're from who have done something absolutely scandalous or salacious and you're like, how are you still in power? I know the UK definitely has. I know we have. We had a prime minister who threw an entire COVID party whilst people's was dying and he had cheese and wine. Anyways, you know, it is what it is. Hey, politics. But yeah, you let me know. And that's the story of Rob Ford. Like I said, it's really sad that he's passed away and there's more to his legacy outside of everything that I've just mentioned. And I'm sure, you know, his kids and his family have amazing stories to tell about him. But what we were able to see as the public was what I have told you. I actually don't know what any of his policies were, but I'm also not from Canada. So I'm Canadians, let me know. Let me know what is it about Rob Ford that you lot like. So make sure you like, comment and subscribe and let me know what is you want me to talk about next week on The Debrief. I will see you here, same time as always. Love you. Bye.